It sparked wars between empires. It fueled a smuggling epidemic. It was once so valuable, it was used as currency. This is the dark history of tea. Tea's origins trace back to ancient China, where legend credits Emperor Shennong with its discovery around 2737 BCE, after tea leaves allegedly blew into a pot of boiling water he was drinking. Archaeological evidence confirms tea drinking dates back at least 2,000 years in China, where it was initially valued as a medicinal herb before slowly becoming a daily beverage. For centuries, tea remained an almost entirely Chinese secret, cultivated, processed, and consumed within its borders while the rest of the world remained completely unaware of its existence. Tea cultivation and culture spread from China into Japan through Buddhist monks traveling between the two nations around the 9th century. In Japan, tea evolved into something far beyond a simple drink, eventually becoming central to elaborate tea ceremonies steeped in ritual, discipline, and spiritual meaning. Meanwhile, tea slowly began traveling along trade routes toward Central Asia and the Middle East, though it would take several more centuries before it reached European shores. Tea finally arrived in Europe in the early 1600s, carried by Dutch and Portuguese traders returning from Asia. It was initially treated as an exotic, expensive luxury available only to European nobility and the wealthy elite. When tea reached England later in the century, it quickly became fashionable among the upper classes, and the East India Company recognized an enormous business opportunity, securing a monopoly on the tea trade between China and Britain that would generate staggering profits for generations. As tea consumption exploded across Britain throughout the 1700s, it created a serious economic problem. Britain was importing massive quantities of tea from China, but China wanted little in return except silver. This trade imbalance drained British silver reserves at an alarming rate. To close this gap, British merchants began smuggling opium into China in exchange for tea, despite Chinese laws banning opium imports entirely, setting the stage for one of the most devastating conflicts in modern Chinese history. When Chinese authorities cracked down on illegal opium smuggling in 1839, confiscating and destroying massive stockpiles held by British traders, Britain responded with military force. The resulting Opium Wars devastated China, forcing it to cede Hong Kong to British control and open its ports to foreign trade under deeply unequal treaties. Britain's insatiable demand for tea had directly triggered a conflict that would reshape China's relationship with the Western world for over a century. Back in Britain, sky-high taxes on legally imported tea created a massive black market. By some historical estimates, smuggled tea may have made up more than half of all tea consumed in Britain during parts of the 18th century, as criminal smuggling networks along the English coastline grew increasingly bold and violent. The British government eventually slashed tea taxes dramatically in 1784 specifically to undercut smugglers, finally making legally imported tea affordable enough for ordinary British households. Tea taxes also ignited rebellion an ocean away. In 1773, angry American colonists protested British taxation without representation by boarding ships in Boston Harbor and dumping an entire shipment of British East India Company tea into the sea. The Boston Tea Party became one of the defining acts of defiance leading toward the American Revolution, transforming a simple beverage tax into a symbol of colonial resistance against the British Crown. Desperate to break China's monopoly on tea production, the British East India Company sent botanist Robert Fortune on a covert mission into China in the 1840s, disguised in local dress to smuggle tea plants and cultivation secrets out of the country. Fortune successfully transported thousands of tea plants and experienced Chinese tea workers to British-controlled India, laying the foundation for massive tea plantations in Assam and Darjeeling that would eventually make British India the world's dominant tea-producing region. These new tea plantations across colonial India and Ceylon, now Sri Lanka, depended heavily on harsh indentured labor systems, with workers enduring grueling conditions for minimal wages under British colonial rule. As tea production scaled up dramatically, prices fell across the world, and what had once been a luxury reserved for European royalty transformed into an affordable everyday drink consumed by billions of people worldwide, built on a foundation of colonial exploitation that rarely gets discussed today. From a legendary emperor in ancient China, to smuggling networks along the English coast, to a war that reshaped an entire nation, to a rebellion that helped birth the United States, tea's history is soaked in conflict, exploitation, and empire. It has funded colonization, sparked revolutions, and quietly reshaped global trade for centuries. The next time you sip a simple cup of tea, remember, entire empires rose and fell chasing this humble leaf.